there are worms aplenty. Grab a big chunk of this. And I'm going to slowly start moving, especially as I come in contact with large numbers of worms, towards myself, so that they have some place to go, and that's going to be that way. And there's even a biodegradable bag I put in there, which is interesting. It almost has a bit of a smell like alcohol almost coming out of there, out of this bin. Kind of unusual. I don't know what that might be, but I don't really care right now. I just want the worms to be happy, and I want my project to be successful. Alright, let's get back into our barbecue guy here. See what he can bring out. Yeah, there's some worms there. Since that's the shredded paper, we'll put that over there. Keep the shredded bedding over on one side. There's also some green plant. Since I'm trying to recover some plants, I've taken the liberty of cutting off some of the drier leaves, that sort of thing, and that's also provided for some new material to be handed into the fray, so to speak. Okay, well here's the other underground part of the bin. Again, an enormously huge piece of bedding, and I did this intentionally because I wanted the worms to really concentrate, since they are top dwellers, to concentrate primarily on the upper part of the bin. I didn't like the whole idea of putting them in a basket to begin with, so that kind of bothered me. Okay, there weren't very many worms in there anyways, and that's fine. I'm going to stick with the shredded paper. I'm going to leave the full-size paper, maybe with the exception of some of this other stuff that's already moistened. There, take the shredded paper and again deposit it just down in this area. Move some of these worms a little bit backwards. Get off the ledge there, buddy. One of them was making a run for the ledge. Dig deep again. Come on up. And there's a bunch of worms in my hands right now. A bunch. I wish I could show you that whole handful, if you can see it from the camera, and literally what's in my hand are all worms. And they're all going in one location, this side, so that they can start here and they can start traveling. So this is looking pretty good, actually. Same thing, lots of worms there. I think there might be one other large piece of bedding here. Oh, there's some shredded paper. There's quite a bit of worms on that piece of shredded paper too, which is kind of nice to see. I'm going to compact down some of that. Again, plastic. God, I don't know how I make that mistake of putting plastic in these things. You know. But obviously, I miss some things. Okay, so we're almost done here anyways. Just going to stir this around a bit. It's a very dark, very rich material that's developing. And I can see by looking at some of these things that they were once upon a time, something other than what they are. Almost in a sense recognizable, but I wouldn't want to hesitate a guess as to what they were. Okay, well the rest of these worms look like they're ready to just be dumped, and that's what's going to happen. And they're all going to be dumped in one side. Little tap, sorry guys, I know you don't like that sort of stuff. A little bit of spraying of the bin. Here and just give it a little bit of a wipe down in case there are any residual worms that are still in there. Yeah, and there are. Nice little guys. Little guys. There's a gentleman who was on YouTube, oddly enough, posted a video, and he said that the little worms really creeped him out, and you know, I have to agree with him. It kind of, maybe it's just the speed or the rapidity with which they move. They just are funny. And interestingly enough, one of the people who we are often fond of promoting, the Worm Factory, www.thewormfactory.ca, he was using one of their multi-tiered bins down in his basement. So congratulations to him. And likewise, all the people who have been of great help to us, from Bentley Christie at redcomposting.com, who's got a very informative site, Jeff Sonnenberg, who's been exceptional, Rick and Ray and Jerry at his Worm Factory. It's been a tired couple of days. And Rick and Kathy at Kathy's Composting. My hope is as the YouTube thing matures, that we'll get in touch with people who are building the same sort of concepts. But maybe, with luck, teach them a few things. And with that in mind, I'll just, now that we're done with this, I'll just take it, I'll move it out of the way, and then there's something else that I just want to put on camera ever so briefly. One of the things that I often have had an affection for is grain collection devices, and although I still do, we've been thinking about the concept of how in an apartment building you would set up a vermicomposting bin. With that in mind, of course, it becomes challenging. So if one can imagine, and I'm going to ask you to be very imaginative here, because you're going to have to be if you're going to appreciate what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can tilt this up a little bit so we can see. Okay. That gives us some depth of field, and I can collapse this chute down. This chute is, let's just turn the chute. The chute is incredibly flexible and will turn on its own, an end of its own accord. But this is a chute. So picture a garbage chute, which some of the municipalities right now are even suggesting people in apartment buildings actually keep their food byproducts indoors for up to a week before they have the ability to really make their garbage go into the area that it needs to go. Basically, their chute. Where else are they going to put it? How else are they going to get rid of it, except to drop it into a chute? And that is where something like this sort of plays into the whole scheme of things. Now, where's that light coming from? Is that from behind me? There you go. Okay. So what we thought is, what if you could conceal? What if you could conceal within a, I don't know, an armoire type thing, a kitchen microwave holder or something, a vermicomposting bin, maybe not on the size of this, because this was originally set up to collect water. Something that literally you could just drop your food material in a chute of your own, and all you'd have to do to vary the way that you create the vermicomposting is naturally, like it is now, all the food would drop into on my right hand side. You would end up with a pile of right-handed sided food, which might be okay, I don't know, we'd have to see. But worst case scenario, if it didn't work that way, you could always just turn the lid around, and same thing, only now you're dropping food products in and it's falling on the other side of the